On September 12, 2019, FBI agents raided the homes of some of America's wealthiest families, seizing laptops, bank records, and a cache of forged college applications that would soon expose a multi-million-dollar scheme to cheat the nation's most prestigious universities. Operation Varsity Blues, the FBI's code name for the investigation, uncovered a sprawling network that turned the dream of elite education into a commodity for the ultra-rich. At its heart was William "Rick" Singer, a college admissions consultant who, for a fee, orchestrated a web of bribes, falsified test scores, and phantom athletic credentials that placed the children of CEOs, Hollywood producers, and hedge fund managers into institutions such as Yale, Stanford, and Georgetown. The origins of this fraud trace back to the early 2000s, when Singer founded The Key, a for-profit college counseling service that promised insider knowledge of the admissions process. Over time, he cultivated relationships with coaches, admissions officers, and standardized testing officials, offering them cash, luxury travel, and even charitable donations in exchange for manipulating the system. For families willing to pay anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 per child, the price of admission was no longer measured in grades or extracurriculars, but in the size of their wallets. The scheme operated on three main fronts. First, test score fraud. Singer recruited a former test administrator to correct answers on the SAT and ACT, effectively inflating scores for his clients. Second, athletic recruitment fraud. He bribed college coaches to list applicants as recruited athletes in sports they never played, granting them a guaranteed spot and a waiver from standard admissions criteria. Third, fabricated profiles. He created elaborate personal essays, forged recommendation letters, and even arranged staged extracurricular activities, such as a fabricated charitable foundation or a non-existent music tour, to bolster each applicant's resume. The operation unraveled when a disgruntled former associate, a former test administrator named Mark Manchall, contacted federal authorities in 2018, offering to expose the fraud in exchange for immunity. His cooperation, combined with a series of undercover wiretaps and a massive data dump of emails and financial records, gave investigators a clear trail from the money flowing into Singer's accounts to the admissions decisions at the target schools. The indictment, filed in March 2019, named 50 individuals and entities, including parents, coaches, and the nonprofit College Admissions Consulting, Inc. The charges ranged from conspiracy to commit mail fraud, honest services fraud, and making false statements to the Department of Education. The public's reaction was swift and visceral. Headlines screamed about the rich cheating their way into Ivy League schools, sparking a national debate about privilege, meritocracy, and the very purpose of higher education. The trial began in November 2020, a year delayed by the COVID-19 pandemic, and unfolded under a media spotlight that turned the courtroom into a stage for America's collective outrage. Prosecutors painted a picture of a meticulously planned racket, using testimony from whistleblowers, recorded conversations, and the very documents that had been seized months earlier. One of the most damning moments came when a former coach admitted to paying a little extra to guarantee a spot for a client's son on a rowing team he never even knew how to row. Defendants, many of whom were first-time offenders, tried to distance themselves from the wrongdoing, claiming they trusted Singer as a legitimate consultant. Yet jurors were not swayed. In August 2021, the verdicts were handed down. Singer was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, ordered to forfeit $2.2 million, and barred from ever working in the education sector again. 6 parents received prison sentences ranging from 21 months to 2 years, while a dozen others were sentenced to probation, community service, and hefty fines. Notably, the court also imposed restorative measures, requiring some defendants to publicly apologize and to donate to scholarship funds for low-income students. The aftermath of Varsity Blues rippled through the admissions world. Universities launched internal audits, tightened their recruitment processes, and re-examined the role of legacy admissions and athletic recruiting. The NCAA tightened its oversight of college sports recruitment, while testing companies overhauled security protocols to prevent future score tampering. For many families, the scandal was a cautionary tale that fame and fortune cannot shield one from the law, and it sparked a broader conversation about the inequities embedded in the higher education pipeline. In the years that followed, the cultural impact persisted. Popular media, from podcasts to documentaries, dissected the case, and lawmakers introduced proposals to increase transparency in college admissions, including bans on legacy preferences and mandatory disclosure of financial aid decisions. While the scandal did not eradicate privilege, it forced institutions to confront uncomfortable truths about how wealth can buy advantage, and it gave a voice to the countless students who compete on merit alone. Operation Varsity Blues remains a stark reminder that when the gatekeepers of education become entangled with money, the very ideals of fairness and opportunity are put at risk. Yet the case also illustrates the power of investigative journalism, whistleblowers, and vigilant law enforcement to expose and dismantle even the most sophisticated frauds. The story of a secretive cabal that turned college admissions into a black market transaction continues to reverberate, challenging us to ask, how do we safeguard the promise of higher education for future generations? Subscribe to The Verdict for more stories like this.